just like on the western side of India, there is this Pakistan corridor that China is using. Similarly, Myanmar is on the eastern side, another corridor. So why isn't, now that is not as strong a state as Pakistan, that is not as vulnerable to breakdown and terrorism and whatnot. Why hasn't India completely brought Myanmar on board to the exclusion of the Chinese access through their country? That is something that ought to have taken our last 20 years diplomacy. We should have done that.
I think we are now moving towards that. You would realize that there are a number of groupings, BIMSTEC and the others, which have been taken up as more or less a counterweight to the CEPC, to the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. You know, there are alternative corridors that come from Myanmar to Bangladesh to the sea, you know, Myanmar to the sea and Myanmar to Bangladesh and further on, you know, through our ports to Africa. Why not? We can propose, we are proposing alternative corridors. Because unfortunately, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor has huge strategic military connotations in terms of the ability to bring mechanized forces into an India-Pakistan war. China can bring its mechanized forces, number one. And number two is it is built through our sovereign territory. It is built through Gilgit-Baltistan, which belongs to us. So we can't think of ever acceding to the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor. But as a big power, India can propose alternatives.
So also, in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, there's a very thin piece of land which is Pakistan-occupied, through which the China corridor goes.
That's right.
What is the viability of blockading that now? Because it is our territory. Legally, we should do that. I mean, through our territory, all these things are happening. Why couldn't we go and do something there militarily?
You know, that is what even the Chinese are getting worried about. You know, you may have sunk $51 billion. But the fact is, you have sunk it in an enterprise which can be vulnerable from many directions, a number of directions. That is why the Chinese asked the Pakistanis first to raise 2 divisions to protect this corridor. Now they are raising their own because they don't trust the Pakistanis. We just had 2 Chinese scholars killed there in Balochistan.
But with China raising 2 divisions and Pakistan raising 2 divisions, those are 4 divisions against India. That is what they're trying to, would end up doing. So before all that happens, if you are talking about limited conventional war, why not do it over there? Why not raise the price for China to participate so that they'll have to raise the stakes beyond 51 if they want to continue, 51 billion, because they will realize that this is something easy India can do and will do, has the capacity to do, has the will to do. So India needs to demonstrate its actions in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir in a very targeted geography, which is a geography through which this CPEC goes.
May I give you a very interesting historical parallel? In the First World War, the Turks had built the Hijaz railway right up to Saudi Arabia via Iraq, Syria, etc. You know, the Lawrence of Arabia, he came up with a strategy, don't cut this line. Keep pinpricks on this line, raise the costs of running this line so high that they can either not leave it, nor can they abandon it. I think the Chinese have put themselves with a communication artery that runs parallel to the Indian frontier. I say that again.
Yes. Yes.
It runs parallel to the Indian frontier. And to that extent, it is vulnerable throughout its length.
Yeah, but you know the thing is, about 200 kilometers they built tunnels to make it less vulnerable. Chinese have the engineering unparalleled anywhere in the world to do this kind of civil engineering. They have built 200 kilometers of tunnels. They've given the loans and whatnot and given the financial aid to Pakistan and provided the engineering. So under the mountains of Kashmir, they have got 200 kilometers underground. So this CPEC, large part of it where it's vulnerable is underground. But still there are remedies. For a cost, there is, for some price, you can dig through those tunnels, you can do a lot of things. If India wants to raise the ante, that the cost of operating CPEC is going to be much more, it's not some peaceful region, then it is India who has to create some kind of